counter to all of that, of course, hello, greetings, everyone.
Hello.
I'm so excited to see you all. And there should be some more people popping on, but I think you're my dedicated group. So hi, everyone. And
Hello. Oh, a notebook.
I thought we would start with everyone introducing yourself and talking about why you chose to take the class. Like what hit you? Because this is going to help lead us into how do we really stop and think about who we are and what goes on for us. So today is going to be a kind of little dive into waking up your awareness about the most amazing gifts that you have, your what I call your superpowers. And they really are superpowers when we learn to use them. And they are also allies in our mission. So when we all came down the planet, we all have a different mission, but we were given a certain set of skills to do our mission with. And it's up to us to spend our life uncovering those missions or those skills, as I've been calling the ninja super skills, okay? It's just going to give you a brief overview of where I'm coming from, because we are now living in uncharted territory. Not that our consciousness didn't know it was going to happen, but it is uncharted in our history. And so we're at the forefront of such a powerful time.
Definitely.
So ninja skills are more important than ever, because you can't go and read in the history book like how it's going to unfold, okay? And of course you can go in the Akashic records, but I still think actually what I understand is that timelines are all shifting very rapidly. And so it's really about us establishing our timelines, if that makes sense. So let's just start. And maybe we can start with Karen, because she was on first. Give us an introduction to you and really what hit you about this class? Why are you here?
It's really, I've been on this journey for quite a long time, and I'm still trying to get clear on what my particular gifts are and trusting in my intuition. So I've been told lots of things over the years, and some of it I resonate with and some not. So that's my choice. But it's really getting the clarity of what my gifts are so that I can be using them in a more aligned way than what I'm doing now for work. So,
okay. And so when you saw the class,
yeah.
all right, and this is going to be for everyone. It's like, okay, what actually hit you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can't actually remember exactly what it was. It was just when I was reading it, it was like automatically like, yes, that's something I need to attend.
Okay, so that's good. So we'll keep that at that for a moment. But there was a feeling of I just need to. This is for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So you had a gut response, right?
Yeah.
And here you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. So you guys already are going to start to get that even the process of signing into coming on the class was actually a kind of like gut level for you, intuitive hit.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer. It's like, right, this is where I'm going. So sometimes with our intuition, we just know, right?
Yeah.
Of course, that's the secret would be, can we just know like that every time, right? Okay, that's beautiful. Anything else you want to add, Karen?
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Who would like to go next? Well, there's only two of you. I could choose. Helena, you're unmuted.
Oh, maybe I should mute myself.
But not yet. I just called on you, hon.
Then can I mute myself after
Yes,
that?
then everyone should mute yourself so we don't hear everything you're doing.
Okay. I thought I could learn more. about listening to my gut.
Okay.
I could get some pointers from you. And it was like, I chose this particular class because it was like the latest in the day. One of the later, and that I could fit in my schedule. And still, it didn't. Anyway.
Okay, so you'd like some pointers so you can feel more intuitively guided. Do you want more certainty? Do you want more trust?
More certainty.
More certainty that the answers are right? Or that you're more certainty even that you're being guided?
Well, if I have a question, sometimes I'll often turn to the I Ching, which is
Got it. So you
which
have
is
you have a divination method.
yes. I use the I Ching or a couple of other things, but more information would be appreciated.
I understand. Okay. And I will say this, that I use divination tools myself. And the one thing I learned about my divination tools, so I'll use my pendulum, I'll use cards, or I used to use the I Ching a lot. And now I use the cards of destiny too, but sometimes I'll just question them. So if I come up with a response that doesn't make sense, I'll go, well, this couldn't possibly be, or I better draw a different card, or, I question sometimes even that. So the more clarity we have, kind of the better. But that is definitely a way in. And that's some of the things that's important, is to know what our gifts are and what are our ways in. Okay. So for instance, I may do readings for people, and I usually go in by taking your birthday. And I take your birthday, and it will open up a doorway. Really, it sort of does. It's like, oh yeah, well, a 33 is like this. And then suddenly I'll start to see one or two things that are really relevant to the other person. And then I start exploring it. So there's openings. I guess that's what I want to say. What are our openings that lead to exploration and confirmations? So the way we learn to trust is through getting confirmations, whether it's in the moment or 10 years later. And some of my confirmations have come 10 years later. Something happened the other day that confirmed something I knew 10 years ago. It was so exciting to hear it. Okay. Anyway, so thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. And I'm so glad you're here. Very
Thank
glad
you.
you're here, hon.
I'll mute
Okay.
myself.
And Patricia, why don't you go next?
Hi,
Hi, love.
I'm Patricia, or some people call me Mary, and Mary Patricia. I have two names for my whole life. So I am here because I plugged in to Joan. She's friends of friends, and I found that intuitively she started answering questions that I hadn't even answered yet. And I have been studying for alternative healing arts and different spiritual stuff for well over 50 years. I'm 66, and I think I first recognized gifts when I was about 3, and then was very frightened when I was 6. And so I sort of came onto the planet with a profound intuitive gift, and I would just know things. And I had a very sports-minded, very straight middle-class Canadian family, and hockey was the world. And I was punished from a young age for having an intuitive gift, because I would start calling the goals before they happened. And they told me I was jinxing it. And I had to go to my room. And I have spent a lot of my adult life sharing very little about my gifts with very few people. And yet, Joan just knew right away. And she, even when she just pulls a card, even when she doesn't pull a card and does a little reading, it's always so right on and connected. So I sometimes have to really be persistent. I'm resilient. I need to be persistent. And I've been trying to get on this call since the first one. I had the times wrong. I had the links wrong. I had everything, and I was trying and trying. And every week I couldn't. And this week I was late. I was here trying to get on. And my son showed up, and I gave him my dogs and said, go play. And so they're gone. I said, it might be an hour. And he said, that's okay. And that's rare. He's 48 and impatient. So I'm here because Joan has answers and intuitive support for me at this time, as I am making myself more available for service and to share my gifts. Ta-da.
Well, that is so beautiful. I love that. Thank you very much. Okay, welcome, sweetheart. Welcome, welcome. And I think we're going to have some answers or some clues to what that looks like, okay? And then we have another, so we'll mute you. And also, I just want to tell you something. You were meant to be in this class, probably not the others, so you're actually in the most perfect class for you. And we have to trust that you have a clearing away process that has most perfect timing in mind for you, okay? So you know that, okay? So be at peace about that. You're all in this class at the exact right time for all of us. All right, thank you. We'll put you on mute, hon, and then there's Nicholas. I can see you're muted. Hi, Nick. Do I call you Nick or Nicholas?
You can go with Nick.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey,
Nice,
Jen.
Nick. Where are you from?
I live in Los Angeles.
Okay, not far from me. Good.
Near downtown, in Echo Park. And I apologize, I was like 15 minutes late. So as far as the question that we're answering, do you mind repeating what I should be saying?
Not very complex. And thank you so much. You have a real sweet essence. And so I just wanted to know your name, where you're from, but what prompted you to take this class?
Yeah, right on.
Okay.
So you came into my orbit, in a sense, through Ash on a podcast that you had done with her. And I had honestly never even heard of her until the day that I listened to that one episode. So it just kind of all came in as a flood. I've been doing a lot of self-work, so to speak. In the last couple of years, I've been engaged doing things like studying Kabbalah and just kind of going deeper into questions of, you know, it's like, who am I? What is my purpose? All of that. And I'm still, in a sense, a little bit blocked around how I want to share my gifts with the world. And that's kind of what my motivation is, to spend some time working with you, because I appreciate some of your story and just how much you've had to, you know, be willing to take big risks and walk away from things that seemed like they were, you know, very stable or normal or conventional, and, you know, probably were working in different ways. So I have been doing the same type of work for most of my life in Los Angeles. So over 20 years, I've been keeping computer networks up and running, and it's great in lots of ways, but I feel like I'm here to be doing something different and more. And I think I need a little bit of intuitive guidance towards how to really approach that. And for whatever reason, you seem like the person that I'm supposed to be interacting with right now.
Well, okay, for all those reasons, I'm going to share a few things. Number one, I adore Ash, and she's just brilliant in her work, and she's a master teacher. So that you found her was wonderful. And I am one of her guides and mentors, and she tells people that, and I just value that because she's awesome. So I'm going to say that you probably have a destiny to work with me and us in a certain way, for sure. And I love that you're in this period of, okay, who am I? What am I here to do? How do I hear that? And I also want to say that you're actually the first man who's popped into this class, the intuition class, both the last time I ran it, and by the way, Ashley was in the last major class that I offered, the big 4-week class, but no, it was all women. And I found that very, very interesting. And I go today, it's like, okay.
I think Joan froze.
I was just about to ask, is it just me, or did I move my iPhone? I had trouble with getting on.
Okay, yeah, well,
Who's
my
that?
connection, my internet out here is terrible today. We've had high winds and I don't know.
We're
So
back. That's good. Yeah, I think we
We're
lost
back?
you for like the last 30 seconds.
so you guys lost me. I
Yeah.
thought I lost you. Okay. All right. So just know that it will all reconnect, and I'm not going to go very far. So guys, let me give you a little history about me that you might find kind of interesting. So I guess I've been intuitive my entire life, but I always thought that the entire world was intuitive. Can you see me? Wave to me if you can see me. Okay, good. Because either you're riveted because I'm so fascinating, or I'm frozen in time. Okay, so I didn't even know I had these gifts. I just knew things because I knew things, and probably got in trouble for knowing things that I knew. But in using my intuition as I grew up, and I didn't even know there was a name for it. But for instance, when I first came to California in I don't even want to tell everyone, when I first came to California, I moved into an ashram and I followed a spiritual teacher, John Roger, the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness. And I had the same questions that you had, Nick. What am I here to do? Now, I had a master's already in counseling, but I was insecure. And I couldn't imagine anyone like calling me up and booking an appointment with me as a therapist, So instead I went sideways and I just didn't know what to do. And I was going to all these seminars. What am I supposed to do with my life? What am I supposed to do with this life? And I'm in the seminar and I hear a voice that says, go to chiropractic school. And I look around and no one spoke to me. And I close my eyes again, because here I was asking, what am I supposed to do with my life? And I hear a voice that says, go to chiropractic school. And I would say that as I track my history, it is that kind of definitive answer that comes, that learning how to recognize that. All right. And so when I went to chiropractic school, then I was guided, well, what should I do with my life? What should I do with my life? And I'll never forget that one day I felt that I was supposed to find my office, my chiropractic office. I had graduated and I was looking for my office, and I just felt there was a street in Berkeley I wanted to be on, Solano Ave. And I get in the car and I'm really certain I'm going to find it. So I don't know if you guys have ever been certain you're going to find it, but I was. And I'm driving very slow and looking around going, where is it? And I hit a car going the opposite way, right? It's an attorney. So of course, we have to fill out all the paperwork. But when I hit him, I hear this voice in my head that says, turn around, you're going in the wrong direction. At which point, after 20 minutes, it required, I went up, I turned around, and I'm driving up the street a lot more carefully now, but still going, okay, that voice says I'm going to find my office today. And sure enough, all the way at the other side of Solano Avenue, it's cute as a button little office. And I stop in, and of course, I'm the first person to look at it because why? They had just put the sign up about 20 minutes before. Meaning that had I just gone to the left instead of the right, I would have missed it. And so intuition is honestly, it's that little clue that we are supposed to be, think, do something at a certain time. And listening to that can actually be that life-saving change. And so the way I really got started and launched was that in 2013, Halloween, which is coming up, I was once again in that state. I was looking at, yes, I know I'm supposed to be a speaker and change consciousness, and I knew what my mission was by then. I knew that I was here to heal and inspire people, but it hadn't happened in the way I was expecting, right? So I'm like just going, oh God, what am I supposed to do? Now I know what I'm supposed to do, but I guess it's like, well, can you be more specific by now? And I hear a voice, and the voice says, paint 33 angels in 30 days. Now I tell you this because most likely, if you're on this call today with me, you have already experienced your own sense of times you've been called. Okay? So part of the purpose of today is really to start waking you up to what you already have. So learning about your intuition isn't really about, it is about gaining new skills, but it's not like going into the supermarket and saying, oh yeah, I want a little of that or a little of that or a little of that. Doesn't quite work that way, although it'd be nice. It's more about recognizing what skills I have to do this, the skills you have, and this is the only thing you really did miss, Nick, is that the mission and purpose that we have the skills we need to unfold that. And they're all in the same process. Sometimes by learning about our skills, we learn about our mission and vice versa. But they go hand in hand. And I'm beginning to realize that the first step, so I've been teaching this intuition class, the master class and an advanced class, and now even going into a practical class, because these are lifetime skills, number one. And number two, I'm going into it in such detail because I realize that before we can lay a foundation of why am I here, what am I supposed to do, we actually have to have a clear communication with the answers. Because nothing is worse than like pulling a tarot card and going, well, I don't know I don't know if I like that one. Let me pull a new one. And then calling 10 psychics and going, is this true? Is this true? Because I know a lot of people who spin out when they get answers they don't like. So the question is really, what are the different ways and how do I unfold? So I've discovered that these skills are important in business. They're important in our personal life. They're important in our daily life. And now I think they're really important in thriving during this uncertain time, which, by the way, alternate timelines are happening as we speak. There actually isn't one clear timeline yet, but we can hold the vision of our timelines. And we can use our intuitive skills now to be like a super ninja to thrive when everyone else is like going, oh, does that make sense? Right? Okay, good. So we're going to start with a little meditation to get us in the mood. All right. So now if you have any questions, let's see. I always find Zoom a little unique. All right. I don't see anyone in the chat. Good. I will try to keep current. But we're not a huge group, so at the appropriate time, you can wave or unmute yourself to
Joan, we haven't heard from Art.
What was that?
We haven't heard from Art.
No, we have not heard from Art. I'll check my cell phone. And actually, I didn't finish the rest of the story about the art, because on Halloween, I was told to paint those 33 angels in 30 days. And if I listened. They didn't tell me this, but the bottom line was, because this is what they do to everyone, they give you a message and then they see if you follow it. If you follow it, they'll give you more. If you don't, they go on to the next person. And I always tell the story of how, they told me to paint 33 angels in 30 days. And I said, yes. And then down, they started to give me these instructions. And the other night I was telling the story on my Miracle Monday, and there's a beautiful woman who's on the show all the time. And she has the same birthday as me, March 16th, a different year, Helena. I see you shaking your head. And she sends me an email, and and I've worked with her on and off for years, and I don't even know this. She said, Joan, oh my God, it was really crazy. She said two things. She said, you don't know this, but I almost became a chiropractor like you. But she said, I got a message to paint angels also. And she said, but I didn't listen because I had too much on my plate. And I thought that was really interesting because I just intuited that they tell everyone. They told me they tell everyone, but I had never actually met anyone who actually turned around and said, well, I was told to paint, but I didn't listen. Now, what happens when we don't listen, by the way? Our energy gets blocked up. So one of the keys of your intuition is that if we don't follow the messages we get, and that's an important one, Helena, yes, very important. If we don't pay attention to the messages we get, number one, they don't necessarily want to give you more information because you haven't made use of it. And the information is so powerful, the message, that it causes you to back up. Literally have blocked energy. So part of our gift is this thing of, oh my goodness, if I take the responsibility of starting to get these messages, then I'm going to be moving these messages through me. So when I finished my painting, and I had 33 beautiful pieces of art, and I hung them up on the wall in the loft where I lived and created an angel portal, a book fell off my bookshelf and it said, your call for angelic assistance has been heard. Ha. They never said that in the whole month until I got, finished. And then it was like, oh, maybe this is how it works, and sure enough, exactly what they did, because they knew if they gave me too much information, I would run the other way. It would have been too awesome a responsibility. I wasn't prepared. Sometimes we're not, and we think we're not, but obviously they know we are. All right, so let's prepare a little bit. And I want all of you to take a deep breath in, close your eyes for a minute, and I will be sending you this recording. So take a deep breath in, and then letting it all out. And once again, taking a deep breath in and letting it all out. And I want you just to imagine right now sending your roots down through the soles of your feet. And these are very, very thick roots, almost like cable cords. And they're a golden cable cord, but very, very thick. They go from your feet down to the mantle of the earth, and they break through that mantle, and they go through the lava and through the soil and through the different levels of rocks and minerals, and they go all the way down to the center of the earth. And down here, going down the center of the earth, there's a beautiful cave, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful crystal cave. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chairs, 2, 4, 5, 6 chairs in this room. And we are gathered in these are chairs, cozy fire in the fireplace. And we're just actually literally down here in the center of the earth, just in this kind of cozy, deep, mellow energy, feeling very, very safe, feeling very, very secure. And now imagining, while we're down there in the center of the earth, that we have this antenna that's from the top of our heads, and it goes all the way up to the heavens, connecting us from the center of the earth all the way up to the heavens. And as we're sitting there, we can feel the energy coming from the top, from the heavens down through our body, and then bringing it all the way back up. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And now feeling into, remembering what it is about our intuition, feeling into what it was and where we felt that call to come together in this group. Did we feel that call in our gut? Did we feel it in our heart? Was it like an antenna, a bell being run, like, gotta do it, gotta do it? Where, because beloved ones, this is the first key. Where in our senses did we even feel that call to come together to learn about our intuition? Did you feel it in the soles of your feet? Did you feel it in your gut or in your heart? Or was it like your antenna ringing? Good. So just knowing that, very, very good thing. Now, Spirit says, start to think about another time in your life where you felt that very same call. It's like a call to action or a call of knowingness. That you had a sense, you had a knowingness, you had a feeling about something. It could have been a feeling about painting. It could have been a feeling about going outside at this particular time or answering a call. Think about that time when you had that time. See if you can remember that. Good. And now think about a time when you had that kind of call, but you didn't listen. You didn't listen, and feel into what that felt like. If you can remember that. And the story that goes with that, where you might have said to yourself, God, I just had this feeling that I should have done this, but I didn't listen. So remembering into a time when we didn't listen. Good. Now letting that wash away, wash away, wash away. And now feeling in again, once again, to that antenna that is connected up to the heavens, and feeling right now, calling down to us, energy that comes down through our crown chakra to clear our channels, to clear, going through that light antenna, through the top of our crown, going through all of our chakras, opening up our third eye, our throat chakra, our heart, going down through our solar plexus, down all the way down to our first chakra and going down to the center of the earth and clearing that and bringing new energies. And now just coming on back to the center, to being here on our Zoom call. And if you want to take a few notes, if there were any realizations that you might have had, in particular about when you paid attention, when you didn't pay attention, and also what that feels like to you to pay attention to your intuition. So write that down if you have a notebook, and then it'll be a perfect time. I would love to hear anyone's feedback or comment. You can unmute yourself if you have any comments about that. There you all are. Good. All right. Okay, I see Helena's still writing. Good. Anyone have any comments or feedback? Is that a yes, Helena?
The memory that came rushing back to me, kind of a surprise, was I was living in France, and I was in a metaphysical group in I think it was 1972, and one of the members of the group was pregnant, and I felt that I needed to help her. We you know, there was, and so I'd been in that situation myself in the United States before Roe versus Wade, and I had to go to Mexico to get Juarez to get an abortion. So I helped this girl go to London and get an abortion, and out of it, she's French, she couldn't speak English, and out of it I had oh my gosh, some really wonderful things happened. I got to see Jesus Christ Superstar, which was just new on the stage in London. And the first showing of King Tut's tomb was on display at the British Museum, and it was by far superior to anything I've seen since. I think the real goods were there. It was very...
So by following that guidance, that call to help her,
yes.
you had some beautiful experiences unfold.
Yes.
By following
Mind
that.
altering. I mean, life altering too.
And did you have a time when you didn't follow it?
The memory that came up was I thought I should paint.
Uh-huh.
So I went out and bought some additional painting supplies, which still sit there unused.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a guidance that perhaps you haven't done yet and followed. Yes. Okay. But you will at the right time. I'm actually kind of convinced of that, knowing you. All right. Any other feedback from anyone?
Yeah. Hey, Joan, I'll add in. So, I mean, I have a strong sense of times I've followed intuition and mostly been good about that. I guess, you know, the times I haven't listened are the bigger issues, because I sort of reflect on a couple of relationships. I was in a 13-year relationship and then a almost 5-year relationship shortly thereafter. And usually it's in that regard that I have not listened to those voices and then like didn't act on certain things or didn't, you know, sort of speak my truth when it came up. That got me into more trouble. So I guess I'm good about listening to some of the positive cues, but not always the negative ones, or the ones that I perceive as like, you know, possibly negative, that would have been me establishing stronger boundaries or just getting out of situations that I, you know, really didn't want to be in.
Yes. So it's actually also honoring, like recognizing that this isn't just a bad feeling, but sort of recognizing that it's really advice.
Yeah.
Perhaps strong advice. That's very perceptive, Nick. Yes. All right. Well, it's a process, everyone. Honestly, I still find days when I don't listen and I kick myself because it's like, I know better. I know better. And then, of course, I guess I didn't. So still a process of learning. Anyone else want to comment? Okay, it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you don't. I do want you to know I have highly interactive classes, though. It's my background in training as a therapist. Remember, I told you I have a master's in counseling because I went on for a chiropractic degree because I was too shy to build I didn't think anyone would want to come to me for counseling. Okay. All right, I'm sharing the screen for a minute so you can see a few things. Okay, so yes, this is what I finally have come to. My guides have said I do all this. I'm a messenger, a paintbrush when I listen and I pay attention. And so one of my jobs this life is I'm actually here to heal and inspire and help people remember who they are and why they're here. And I take that very seriously because I think it's been my lifetime work. Why are you here? What's your purpose? What's your big picture? So that you can step into your mastery. And I have a friend who started off as an angel Reiki master, and she has a very direct connection. And we were on the phone the other day. She said, what was it? It was like she was inside the temple. And what I saw was my job is I call people to the temple doors and I hold the temple gates open. I hold them open so you can get in there in your own consciousness. And these are some of the skills that we start learning about how to work in our life and what they really are, and the gifts that we have. Because all of you on this call would not have been intuitively guided to take the class unless you had that going on. Okay, now I should know play from here. Good, perfect. So one of the things that I've started doing is teaching. So where is it? Go back. Oh gosh, here. Thank you. There. So teaching, how do we use our superpowers? What are they? What are my specific gifts? And I've come to realize that many of us have many of all of these. So what I was describing to you when I heard a voice say, go to chiropractic school, that was what they call clairaudient. I heard a voice. When you have a feeling of, I know that I know, that's clairsentient. That's one of the things that can get you in trouble with people when they go, well, how do you know? No one else knows that. And you say, I just know because I know. So those are some of the gifts. Now, what are some of the things that keep us from really relying on our gifts? Is that number one, the society tells us you can't rely on your intuition, right? Because your intuition is some kind of woo-woo thing. And if you tell people you make your decisions based on your intuition, I made the decision to turn left turn around, and that was my office. I followed a voice in my head that said, you're going to find your office. And so that, so understand this, that your intuition is going to make the difference in how you really live your life. So I was practicing for a few years. I'll never forget this. And this was, I think maybe I'd like to say I had this experience so I could tell you guys about it years later, but I had a patient that came in. They were Persian, a husband and wife, and they came in for their exam and x-rays day one. They had had a car accident, and they came back the next day for treatment. And I had the kind of chiropractic table that goes up and down. You just put your foot on the pedal to the metal and it goes down. Well, as the table's going down, and the husband's on the table, the wife is in a room having physical therapy upstairs. He's down here. I hear a voice that says, if anyone's ever going to sue you, Joan, it's him. Okay. And I go, it's like, I swear, I think I must have been talking out loud. It's like, what? And it was so random that I tentatively chose to ignore it. I literally chose to ignore it because this has never happened to me before. So I ignored it, but I was very delicate, thinking, okay, that was strange. And I do, if you've been to a chiropractor, got my arms set up, my hands, and I'm going up and down his spine. I do a little move, very little move. And he leaps up off the table and starts screaming that he was in serious pain. Now, I think he set me up because I didn't really touch him. But boy, oh boy, I heard that voice and I didn't listen. just so you know. Any questions about that? Matter of fact, I got to be on a very famous radio show a few years ago. That's how I met Helena, actually. And it was a very interesting story because there I was, I had to capture the attention of Tom, the producer. And Tom would say to me every Thursday, he'd say, call me next week and we'll see. And I'd call him next week. He'd say, what's your name? Why are you calling? Oh yeah, call me next week. All right. And I wanted to be on the show. It's Coast to Coast, very famous show. And actually I had met Tom in the elevator at the Conscious Life Expo. And I said to Tom, I introduced myself. I said, I'm going to be on your radio show. And he looked at me, he said like, well, who is that nut? I didn't even give him a card, right? And I get off at my floor, or he gets off at his floor, one of the two. And I go to my room and I torture myself like, you idiot. You know what you do to yourself when you blow an opportunity. And I'm in my bedroom, like really upset with myself. And I get back, I say, okay, we got to go back downstairs because I was working. I get back in the elevator and Tom, the producer's in the elevator. And swear to God, he says to me, well, so this was all intuitive. You realize like you can't plan it. Like, go, I'm going to wait and make sure I'm in the elevator with Tom again, because I'm sure he'll never want to talk to me again. So first thing out of his mouth, he says, so what producer were you talking to? And so in the end, he gives me his card. And so now I'm calling him every Thursday, right? One Thursday, he's off. He's in the back seat of some car up in Joshua Tree. Why am I calling? It's like really humiliating to me. And now one particular Thursday, it must have been the third or fourth, I'm meditating. I'm looking at his phone number and suddenly I start screaming, I'm going to be on the George Norrie show. Okay. I'm screaming in the house. I'm alone here. And so I get this sense I'm going to call Tom at 6. And at 6 o'clock, I have a sickening feeling and I don't call him. I go, call him at 7. Now, I was sort of, part of me felt like I'm, Joan, you're being a coward. But the other part of me says, okay. So I called Tom exactly 7. And again, there's what are you calling me almost moment for? And then there's one of those moments where time stops and he says, he said, I was almost in a fatal accident around 6 o'clock tonight, an hour ago. And I said, well, what happened? And he was, I don't even understand the story. He was about to hit a woman who was in a wheelchair and an angel intervened at 6 o'clock. Okay. That's all he could tell me. He repeated it several times. And then there's a silence. And it kind of made me feel like he was flipping through an appointment book. If he had had a manual appointment book, that's what he's doing. And he comes back on, he says, okay, I have May 6th available. You won't be with George, but is that okay? And it was like, I already knew I was going to be with George. But that's how it happened. So had I stuck to the logical mind, like I said, 6 o'clock, I'm going to call him. He might have had it, you understand. So guys, science is now catching up to this thing about our intuition. So intuition plays an important role in all of this. All right, now this is kind of interesting. They've established that not only that your intuition will help with your health, wealth, and happiness, as opposed to your logical mind. I find it interesting that it's those people who are the muggles, who are really logical, who won't even take a class like this because it's too intimidating for them because they have their structured decisions. But this is the importance of listening to your heart. And my mentor, Dr. Sharon, says the longest distance we have is from the brain to our heart. So one of the keys that I can give you for your intuition, if you're trying to choose between two things, the one that causes your heart to sing is usually the right decision. Write that down, Helena. The one that causes your heart to sing is, and I can only say that you can compare it. Like I took my kids to different preschools, and I'd go into one that everyone raved about, but I'd have a thud-like feeling, a sickening feeling, right? Couldn't ever consider putting my kids there. And then the last one I took it to them, it was like, oh my God, I want to be a student here. You know, I want to be a 5-year-old here. And my heart was singing. So when they say heart math, one of your confirmations is always in your body. Does it make my heart sing? We as intuitives always have to find the way to get confirmations, guys, okay? And another way of using intuition is through what they call radical remission for cancer survivors. I love this. And this is true. They've done studies that show those people who get results, who survive life-threatening, this is fatal, you're going to die cancer, are the ones that threw away the medical book, threw away, you know, the logical approach, and they just said, I'm going to listen to what my body needs. I'm going to listen. I'm going to look to where there's a heart resonance. Like Nick, you said, you know, I just wanted to work with you. I felt that. So we look for the resonance. So another key here is really resonance in all things. So one of my clients years ago had cancer, and we sat down on Zoom and we went through all the different treatment protocols. And we looked at something I call my discernment meter, and we looked at how he felt energetically, how his body and unconscious mind felt about every protocol to figure out the one that he'd get better from. Because if you're taking things that you don't feel good about, you're not going to feel good about it. Even in the healing of it, it's going to be harder for you to heal. So healing in our body comes from using our intuition to make decisions. Okay. Now, second myth that happens, they talk about intuition being a guessing game, One of the reasons I didn't realize that I had my own gifts is that I thought that what I came up with or saw when I would do readings or work with other people, it was like, well, everyone knows this. I can't explain it. But I would like see something astounding in a reading, like a little seashell. And it turned out that the last time this woman saw her daughter was on the beach collecting seashells. And, you know, but to me, it was such a random thing. But then once they tell me about it, I think, oh yeah, that of course I figured that out. Dissing my own gifts, okay? It's not a guessing game. Your intuition is your, as I said, not only your ninja super skill, but it's like having a special antenna. It's just a matter of learning how to use it, okay? So one of the things that I've been teaching in my super class, in my ultimate intuition connection mastery class, is how do we go into listening to our intuition? And what works for me doesn't necessarily work for anyone else, or your gifts are different than mine. And it's only a matter of you needing to recognize how I hear, how I see. That's why I started by asking, what resonated for you when you heard about the class, this master class? How did you feel? Was it your heart? Was it your mind? Was it in your belly button? Was it your voice? You know, did you run around the room going, yay, intuition with Joan? I'm exaggerating, but I did have this psychic who told me I should be a comedian. And sometimes I do think I could get on the stage for spirit, you know. It's kind of funny, but how did it fall? Because that's your learning. That's where learning begins. And what I can accomplish in this particular introduction, because I've been studying intuition for 40 years as a chiropractor. Didn't know I had it, but now that I know, and even before that, growing up, picking up the phone and knowing before I pick up, it's my aunt telling me my grandmother commits suicide. Okay, how would I know that? You know, I wouldn't. Trust me. So we know that and by the way, it's usually your first guess. Something else to think about. If you go back and you have to start to think about it, go back to the first thing you thought of. And I'm going to tell you why. Some of you may know the story about the trackers. Who has hair? Okay. I see Helena has hair. Patricia, I think Karen, and Nick has some too. Okay, here's the thing. We all have hair on our arms, and you've probably had that experience that when your hair stands up on edge. Has anyone here never had that experience that suddenly your hair is standing up? It could be someone says something that's like truth and you have chills, or you could walk in a dark alley and suddenly you just feel or smell danger, right? But our hair is one of our intuitive portals. And the Native Americans are some of the best trackers in the world. The US government had heard about the trackers, and during the Vietnam War, they thought, okay, let's get the trackers down into the tunnels to root out the Viet Cong. Sounds great, right? So they go to the chiefs, they demand their best trackers. The chiefs send them their, quote, best trackers. They go off to Vietnam, and more of the trackers die. The trackers who are trying to be scouts die than the other recruits, okay, who've been being trained to be trackers. So they didn't do very well, the Native Americans. And so our government goes back pretty pissed off, accuses the chiefs of sending them the worst of the trackers, right? The blind trackers. And the chiefs very politely, calmly explained to the military that our trackers, their intuition lies in their hair. And who else was that? I think it was Samson and Delilah, right? And when our little short person kills the giant, you know, they cut off his hair, the giant, someone lost their skills. Samson. I better go reread that story of who lost their skills, who lost their hair. But the truth is, when someone lost their hair, they lost all their skills, okay? So now the government sends back new trackers, and they shave off 50% of the hair, and 50% they leave intact. And of course, you probably know the outcome of that. The ones who had their hair shaved off were dangerous. They were in danger. They did not do well at all. The other ones did fantastically. So ultimately, the government stopped shaving off their hair. All right. But the whole point was that it's another way, another skill you may or may not know you have that comes in a form we don't always know what it is. So for example, my sister has a skill. Her skill is she can smell when my mother is in the room. My mother passed when I was 37 and wore a perfume, a Shalimar, very strong smell. You cannot miss it. And one day we're at my sister's house, my son is there and I'm there, and we're talking about my mother, and suddenly the smell of Shalimar comes through the entire room. So again, it's starting to pay attention to the nagging feeling we get, who to avoid and who not. And yes, you can use your intuition before you start your relationships, Nick, to actually ask for the frequency of the relationships. You know, but again, the discernment comes from learning the skills to listen and know that this is truth. Okay, now, and that's a little harder, not always so hard, easy to do. So we can always say, what do you want me to know? All right. The less we agonize and trust, the happier we are. And get this, the car buyers. So I'm looking for a car, and I thought this is pretty good because I don't like to do research. I'm an intuitive buyer. I'm an intuitive everything. As a chiropractor, I'm an intuitive too. But look at this. The car buyers who made logical decisions were much less satisfied than the ones who made intuitive decisions. All of these, of course, are the reasons why we want to use it. And the other thing is that you don't need to be born with it. It is a super ninja skill. Yes, you have a propensity. All of you describe kind of a propensity to be already thinking outside the box. Now, being, a gifted or an intuitive type person means completely starting to confirm yourself or asking for confirmations, but starting to pay attention to the messages you get. Like the day that I got a message after it was 2013 and I was putting my tax returns in the trunk of the car. The accountant, I picked them up. These were the copies. Thank God he electronically transmitted them. But I'm putting them in the trunk, and I hear a voice that says, well, don't put them in the trunk. They're going to blow away. Now, if you heard a voice, the only face I see is Nick's, but if you heard a voice that says, don't put your tax returns in the trunk, they're going to blow away, you'd probably think, yeah, right, the trunk is really going to open and they're going to blow away, right? Right, of course. Well, so that's what I thought, of course. And sure enough, I stopped at a light, the trunk blew open. A week later, I did get a phone call from a man who said, well, I found these tax returns. He found my daughter's tax returns. He never did return it. Okay. So I would say that more often than not, your intuition has really important messages for you. And it's not a matter of being born with it, but a matter of training with it. Becoming a ninja super skill trainee. Okay. Like a Jedi warrior. You may have an ability to use your mind and mental powers, but you still need training to go into battle. And life is going on to an interesting plateau now. Listening to what's not being said is more important than listening to what is being said. Nod your head if that makes sense. Because there's a lot going on in the news and media and politics that is on the surface looking one way, but we actually don't know. And so these ninja superpowers give you that extra special oomph to navigate, if that makes sense, okay? So you can discern truth. You can discern, if it's true for you. So you already have it. And the key is in recognizing those skills. And again, that's why I had you look at where you feel it in your body, how you feel it. And even as far as looking at a time when you didn't listen. So the times I didn't listen, I lost money. I can already tell you. The times I didn't listen, actually I lost money big time. I got into a relationship with someone who helped me lose $250,000 losses. So I actually am really good at not listening to my intuition, which is why I teach a class about learning to listen. They tell people like me that you end up teaching what you need to learn. And so over and over and over again, learning these. But again, that's my job. I help open that door so you can get to where you're going. And we do it by learning our special skills. And honestly, this is wonderful. So I want to tell you about the program I've mentioned a few times. During this pandemic, hold on for a second. So during the pandemic, the good news was that I was guided to understand that this is a time of mastery. This is really a time of initiation for many of us. Wasn't the time to just, fall apart like the rest of everyone was. Nevertheless, I had my human self too. And then I wake up one day, it was like, what am I supposed to do? Thinking, of course, now that we have a pandemic, I'm supposed to be other than what I am, which is ridiculous. And I hear the voice. And the voice says, well, you're Joan of Angels. I was like, well, duh. And it was like, well, you are the only Joan of Angels on the entire planet. Duh. duh, duh. And so now they're saying to me, you're the only one who could do what you could do. Just like Patricia, you're the only one who can do what you can do. And Nick, you know, and Helena and Karen, you're the only one who could do actually that little map that you have. And that's when they said, well, you know, time for you to stand up, show yourself. And proceeded to let me know that these were the times that I have been called for. But I believe these are the times we're all being called for. We're being called to really step into that higher dimensional self of ours. Because if you're here now with the world shifting the way it is, you're part of the solution. You're part of one of those healers or helpers or beings that are here to support others, through yourself and others, through this transition, you know, and each level of initiation. So I'm just here sharing what I've learned on the path to help you get to your next levels. So I started asking people what they needed with their intuition. And boy, I really discovered that it's not wham, bam, thank you, ma'am kind of thing. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I get this insight and I'm good to go. You know, it's like I get this insight and then I fight with it. I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to use it. So in telling you about the class, I'm telling you about an opportunity to drop into your own skills. The class itself is a small class. So it's intimate, it's a hands-on practice, a lot of practice. Everyone gets a partner, and that people loved having a partner. We shifted around that you got to practice, because you know, there's no rights or wrongs. There's only being in a safe zone to practice and to know what your skills are, because people found out what they didn't even know was true about themselves. Now, is this the total answer? It's the beginning step to knowing where you're going. Joan, you're frozen again. All right. Hello? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Okay. I don't need to hear you yet. All right, you can hear me? That's good. That was bizarre. We have high winds. That's all I could say. I have branches piled up at my front door. I have to go around the side door to get even in and out of the house. All right, so I was telling you a little bit about the class, and I just want to finish up about the class so you have an idea what I have in case you're interested in it. But it really is about creating your own toolkit, guys, and becoming super ninja stars, okay? We look at how we let go, we look at what it takes, and we work with our team of other people. And I didn't understand this about confirmations, but when I do readings with people, what works is confirmations. I go back and forth with people because I need to know I'm in the right place. And so that's my need. Not everyone needs them, but they help, especially in learning. So it is a program that will help walk you through exactly what you need to do to get to the next level of your intuition. And so you can start to trust your decisions. And particularly helpful, you know, if you're really in a space where you actually are looking for your career, or you're even where to move or whatever. It's really how we can hear, and our health, by the way, what's right for my health, radical remission, radical healing, very important. All right, so this is how we connect you to. It's a 90-minute, 90-minute plus sessions. They're usually longer, but it is every class has guided meditation, has hands-on practice, has instruction and training, and then homework in the sense of practicing your skills. And everyone had amazing gifts that came through in this. The manual itself is always a work in progress and is continuing to be done, because the class itself, the first class for sure is intuitively guided, and so is all of them, because it depends on who's in the class. And that's how some of the learning is shifted so that everyone gets what they need. And that's how all of my work is channeled and message driven. I am a messenger, period, most of it. So this is what you would have, lifetime access. So if you sign up now, you get to be in the group and have all the materials. But I'm really confident of this. No one has asked for a refund, but there is a 30-day refund policy, but you do get your instruction manual. But most important, you become, all right, an intuitive ninja. And it feels good. It feels good to be able to trust your intuition, and know that it's going to guide you to your next steps, because it will. That's how we get to our mission. You know, your mission isn't, you don't know your mission intuitive, like logically. You don't sit in your office and go, yes, well, the next thing for me to do is to become a Reiki master. Yes. Because it's more of a sense of, oh my God, energy moves through me, and you know, you have to be in the right spot. Okay, so the program is not for muggles. It is for people who really want to deep dive with me and to use their gifts. So I'm very excited about the class. The class itself, you can go on and look. I offer a discount if you use this code. So I will send this to you later, but this is where you can find the class. And this is the discount code. It's a $200 discount code that you can use. And if you sign up for the class before my surgery on Thursday, then you can have a soul awakening session, 30-minute deep dive soul awakening session. As part of the sign up, I decided that I was going to offer that because some of you are my friends already. So the 30-minute soul awakening session will help you clarify not just your intuition really, but really clarify your bigger picture. So it's a wonderful gift. I don't think I even did a slide on that because I was thinking of that. So the class is $497 less, 200. So it's whatever that adds up to, $297 with that discount. And here is the soul awakening session. So I'm inviting you, if this calls you, only if it calls you, okay? And also available, and you can find out more. Some people want more work. They want just the group and the privates. You don't have to decide that now, but there is an option to add on 4 private sessions with me, 4 more private sessions, or maybe adapted to 3+. I didn't even think about that, but that's also in part of the class. All right, so let's come back. So any questions about the class or what I'm teaching now? Anyone have any questions for me? Or any comments on anything you learned that was really helpful, that gave you a little bit more insight? Or anything that you want more insight on? Going once or twice or three times? Well, I can give you all my insights.
How about more information about using a pendulum?
What about using a pendulum?
Some of your insights on how to use a pendulum.
Well, here's the thing about using a pendulum. Again, and I'm a pendulum user. I've been dowsing since I was 21. The day I discovered that there's something that would be like a pendulum, oh my God, and I could get it to move, was the most exciting thing in my life. But again, with the pendulum, you have to be able to trust your results. So you have to even set up systems that tell you confirmations. So for example, years ago when my kids were younger, I had made up my mind that I was going to listen to the guidance of my pendulum, because sometimes I would second guess it, it would say yes, but then I'd ask it again and it would say no. And then I'd go back and forth and drive it crazy. So I made up my mind. From this moment on, I said, I'm going to listen. So the next morning, I lived up north and it's rainy season, April, and I'm supposed to take my kids and their friends to Disneyland. So the plan was get up at 4, crawl into the car with all the kids and drive to Disneyland, right? And it's raining outside. I hate rain. So I get my pendulum and I go like this. Is it safe for us to drive to Disneyland? And the pendulum says no. Okay. So Helena, this is really for you. I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again. And I go, well, does this mean there'll be an accident? I mean, I was going beside myself. And over and over again, it says, don't go, don't go. All right, I now have a house full of angry kids, rain, and I look outside and suddenly I see a landslide out in my backyard. I lived in the hills in Marin, and there was all the sand that had been on the top of the hill holding the house up next door had caved in. The retaining wall is going like this. The house is going up there, is going like this. And suddenly I now know. So all I could say was, thank God I listened. But to listen requires active faith. You understand that? I was able to save the property and hundreds of thousands of dollars later repair the damage, but I would have lost, their house would have been in my pool. That's what I can tell you. So, but it requires having faith and confidence in your answers and having clarity in the questions and having clarity and having tools at your disposal for discernment. This issue I call discernment is really important. How do I know that this is accurate? How do I measure it? And then it gets down to how do I know anything's accurate actually? And trying to find clarity within yourselves. So that's kind of my short answer to that. Okay, I see a question or a chat. Here we go. Oh, no. Okay. Any other questions? All right, so my purpose in sharing today was to really give you, and don't forget about your heart sing. I don't know if heart singing is an intuitive skill, but I can tell you it's a gift direct from spirit. And it's the gift that says you're on the right track. When you hear something align with your heart and your heart sings, you know it's right for you no matter what. It's a green a green light. It's a go for it. It's a, this is right for you. So that is one of the best clues I can give you. Had I had a green light to go to Disneyland that day, I guess I would have gone, but I didn't get it. But understanding what it is takes time. And so that's the process I want to talk to you about. The process of, are you ready? Is this something that might be one of the next things for you? And if the answer for that is yes, then reach out to me. I'm going to send up a follow-up letter with all the information. And the class starts in 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. And I would love to see some of you in that class if you feel that kind of resonance, if this feels like your next step. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, everyone take your screen off for a minute. We'll send in, put your camera on. Let's send a little energy love. All right. Good, good. This is my favorite part. You know that if you rub your hands together, you can feel the energy between your hands. And your right hand sends energy. Your left hand receives it. And by the way, being able to feel energy is also an intuitive gift. Good. I didn't even see you on here, Art. I don't even know how long you've been here. Let's see, was there anyone else here? Okay, well, welcome, Art. Do you want to say anything, Art?
I got on late.
I guess you did. Welcome.
I only caught part of the class, but yeah, I'm kind of like busy today. I signed up and I was hoping to have time to sit down, but that doesn't seem to happen much lately.
Got it. Well,
but yeah, I'll watch the replay. You said you're going to send a replay, right?
I'm going to send the replay, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out, okay? For sure.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So everyone, rub your hands together like this, and again, the right hand sends. Someone hand. Mother, Father, God, we're just so grateful for getting into a deeper side, deeper connection. And we ask that each and every one of them have more awareness, understanding, and power with your intuition. And so it is. Okay, guys. And so it is. Thank you so much. And look forward to any of your feedback, okay?